I came the closest to death, not in giving birth to my 10-pound, 13-ounce son at 44. No, it came at 46, having this stroke after dealing with my ex-husband, his current mistress, raising my kids, and trying to savage my career all at the same time. When Brittany said, you don't have to do it, and I said I did. So that was the final straw. So if there's anyone that is juggling literally more than two things, you got two hands. If you're juggling more than two things at a time, please consider reevaluating your boundaries, your non-negotiables, and your own physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional health before you say yes to anything else.
Good evening. Happy Wednesday, my winners and goal getters. Welcome to another edition of the Getting the Win Show. I am your host, Melissa T, the procrastination bully. And in today's episode, I definitely need you to take notes. If you are a single mom, perhaps having navigated a divorce, or perhaps never married, but you are a single mom of multiple children and you're shouldering a lot of responsibilities. If you are someone who has made the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship and you've been juggling all of that, or if you've ever experienced burnout, this episode is for you. My conversation today is with Dawn Stone, who is otherwise known as the Conflict Chick. She is author of a new book called Unburdened, and we'll talk about it. She's the author of several books, but her most recent release is the book called Unburdened, and we'll get into those details in this conversation. But today we unpack burnout and the importance of boundaries, and we also talk about her journey and her transitions, plural, because she is now a single mom of three, but she's navigated multiple marriages, multiple divorces, consequently, and also her own version of burnout and health challenges. And she is now on the other side. So you will definitely enjoy today's conversation. As promised, my winners and goal getters, we have the one and only Dawn, the Conflict Chick Stone, in the building. Dawn, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here, Melissa. I love it. Love it. Love it. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Yeah. So you are someone who I definitely wanted to bring on for my audience, because obviously, like, my mission with the show is to help women who have navigated a trauma or transition find healing through writing their first book. And not only have you navigated several traumas and transitions, but you are now an author. By the way, congratulations on that. So
Thank you.
yeah, we'll definitely get into the book in a little bit. But first, I would love to talk to you about your subject of expertise, though. Like, your big thing right now is talking about burnout, and I wanted to bring someone onto the show that could discuss that in detail. So let's get into that. Like, let our audience know what your experience has been with burnout and some of the solutions that they can use.
Yes. Well, first of all, I will tell you, if this sounds anything like you, definitely tune in, because burnout is the quickest way to your grave. And I'm just going to say it. And so if we get to that point, then we're already too late. So my work as the conflict chick is being unburdened and helping women understand how to reimagine what life looks like with a lighter load. So my journey, I entered corporate America at 18, had a briefcase, hadn't even taken a college class, and was already doing like C-suite level work. And it was crazy. I was a part of a program called Inroads, where they develop talented minority youth for business and industry and prepare them for corporate leadership, right? So I was that chick. And as that chick, going in at a very early age, making major changes in a Fortune 100 company, getting them prepared for a merger and acquisition was stuff I did before I ever graduated from college. So when we talk about the role of burnout and the way burnout shows up, it shows up with that slow burn. And so doing things, extending yourself beyond your own boundaries. In fact, sometimes not even having boundaries have been a challenge. So that spills over into your personal relationship too. So So the first thing I always encourage people to do, hey, check your boundaries. Are you one that keeps your commitments? Are you the one keeping the commitments of other people? That's what burnout looks like, right? And so then as we get older in my journey, I didn't have my first child until I was almost 30. So at 27, I had made my first six figures as a business owner, a business owner and a W-2 employee. Okay. And so then I decided to, the good Lord decided to go ahead and bless my womb. And I had a child at 28, but I was still at Dell making major decisions. So like some of the things I was doing was writing scripts for Michael Dell because I was in the marketing department, right? And if you think about the carrying of the load, my very first project, my big business in my product line was servers. We call them bricks and blade. So if you ever do a Google search, you are running on the very first product that I marketed for that agency. So when we think about all of that, so just think that's 18 to 28. All right, that's the first 10 years. And so then what happens is your body keeps the score. And there's a great book that really talks about the trauma that lies in your bones, and sometimes it makes it over there into your soul. So you really must be aware of everything that's going in. So being the engine that could and did and always would, my engine stopped in 2021. All right, so I had a stress and COVID related stroke. Where did that come from? First of all the work I've been doing up until that point professionally. Now I have three kids, two ex-husbands and a toddler going through the pandemic. Oh, and I was as well, and managing my business and still a W-2. So my body just finally said enough. And the thing is, I will tell you, Melissa, what what was interesting is there were always people along the way who were telling me to stop and slow down. My family, I stopped listening to them. My best friend, I stopped listening to her. My doctors, I stopped listening to them. My therapist, she told me, Brittany said, Dawn, you do not have to push through. And you know what I said in 2020? I have to, because these are my babies, and who else do they have to depend on? So that's carrying all this load, right? And once you're carrying a load and you become an overload, then it turns into exhaustion. And unregulated exhaustion turns into burnout. Burnout turns into all of your systems shutting down, which mine did. So I came the closest to death, not in giving birth to my 10-pound, 13-ounce son at 44. No, it came at 46, having this stroke after dealing with my ex-husband, his current mistress, raising my kids, and trying to savage my career all at the same time. When Brittany said, you don't have to do it, and I said I did. So that was the final straw. So if there's anyone that is juggling literally more than two things, you got two hands. If you're juggling more than two things at a time, please consider reevaluating your boundaries, your non negotiables, and your own physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional health before you say yes to anything else. So that has been my journey.
In a nutshell. That's wow. There's a lot to unpack there, and I definitely want to do that. So the first follow-up question for that, like for anyone that's watching, is like, that might be easy for you because you were working in corporate and like high level corporate.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone who may be juggling more than two, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend for them in terms of what to remove? Because they might be concerned with, well, I have these two jobs because in this economy I need two. Like
Mm-hmm.
one job ain't enough anymore financially. And childcare costs a lot. Maybe they can't afford that. So maybe they don't have the ability to work as many hours as they would like, or one job is a in like go to office thing and another one is a stay at home job. Like
Mm-hmm.
talk to them about how to prioritize what to remove to create more breathing room in their schedule and in their lives.
That's a very good question. So here's what I finally had to do because I was the one that was burning at both ends, right? They will tell you. And to be fair, full transparency, I am ADHD and I have PTSD and I also have anxiety. So With my intellect coupled with those three things, I'm able to function in chaos at a rate that looks functional to the world. But what you have to do is, first of all, understand where you are. So I say the first step is to do a self assessment. Where are you feeling it in your body? So the practice I use in the conflict shake is really about having somatic practices. So somatic practices is basically, how do you know when to regulate? How do you know what's going on with you? And it's listening to your body. So literally, Fitbit, or you can go get you a knockoff version. But this keeps the score for me, and it helps me keep the score hourly. So that way I know with my same 168, Melissa, you've got 168 hours, I got 168 hours a week. So the question becomes, how do we navigate and manage it for me? And the key word is for you. So what I ask people to do is take a 168 challenge. You can Google it. Okay, there we go. You can Google it, but it basically asks you to look at your schedule. And if you can do it 3 days, great. But if you can do it 7 full days, it gives you the biggest benefit. So what you will do is count every hour that you are doing anything and nothing. And you keep it in the spreadsheet. Because then what it will do is it will look at what your time commitment is for yourself personally, professionally, financially, emotionally, socially, and you will be able to find things that you can keep, something that you can outsource to someone else, and something you need to trash. Okay, something you just need to trash. For example, if you find that in a day, like today, maybe you're watching this, but if you go and watch 4 more, could you have taken it down to just one a day? Those are the questions that you have to ask yourself. So for me, mindful scrolling is less than an hour a day. This morning, I've already wasted 1 hour in my business highlighting pictures for my virtual assistant to use. And then my computer overheated, so I lost the hour's worth of work. Now, here's the challenge. Do you allow yourself to go back in and do it again? I had to say no. Get back to writing the paper. So it's really making sure that you understand how to structure your 168. And you understand that by first listening to your body. The second step, after you've listened to your body, you see that when your blood pressure's coming up, when your heart rate's going up, what activities you're actually doing on a regular basis. And then you do this. Number 2 is control your time. All right. And the way to control your time is schedule everything. I will show you what it looks like when you schedule everything, because people used to ask me all the time, how do you do this, Dawn? With my ADHD, if I'm not organized, I'm nothing. I'm in full chaos. But we're talking about this stuff, having it every even scheduled. And that yellow right there is a blood pressure check. Okay, so even scheduling your personals and your professional. All right. And then in every single day, you got 24 hours. The third thing I'm going to ask you to do is to not only schedule your success, but also schedule your rest. Give yourself 2 hours every single day to devote only to you. And so here's the fun part about it. Once you've looked at your 168 hours in a week, or maybe 2 consecutive days, or maybe 3 consecutive days, right? Now you can say, okay, here's where I felt the pressure in my body. Here's when my shoulders start getting tense, my eyes start getting red, I start yawning a lot. And what you'll do is take those 2 hours, break them up in the course of that day, and find yourself some rest. So for me, I know I need to take a nap between 2 and 4 every day. All right. Here's the funny part. I knew that in high school. I knew that in college. I slept through my afternoon classes. I sure did. If I had a 1:40 class, by 2:45, I'm like, what'd she say? But I also knew that about 8 a.m. classes, I took one. Hell, a history with Dr. Hofswelly. Okay, she's the reason why I passed the class, because she said, "Dawn, if you don't wake up, you gonna fail." And I was like, I can't do that. My mom and dad would go off. So again, scheduling your success. So number 1, listen to your body. Number 2, use that 168. Find out what you're doing well and what you're not doing so well, and block that out. And then number 3 is to take 2 hours of your day and put it just for you. So I will give you an example. Morning time, 30 minutes I have in the morning. I pray. I use a map system. I meditate. I do my affirmations and I pray. In addition to those three things, that is time for me to be without my kids, without any worries. I'm allowed to visualize. I'm allowed to prioritize in my mind before I ever get up and put my feet on the floor, right? So that's anywhere from, depending on how much time I got, 10 to 30 minutes max. Then midday, I have that nap. That's at least a 30-minute nap. That's 1 hour. So at night, I can go scroll. I can go catch up on an episode of something I want to watch. That's how you get the other hour. Or guess what? You can always turn in early. So those are the three tips that I will share with you today that will literally transform your time and your attitude. Because when you are stressed, you are not a nice person a lot of times. And the person that you offend most often is you. And that's the thing that we got to understand. We got to keep our boundaries with ourselves because we violate ourselves often when we are not willing to rest.
That was a whole message. Like, y'all run that back. The one person we violate most is ourselves. Man, that's a hard pill to swallow, but it is true. That is absolutely true. And
Yes.
most high performers, high achievers, they'll say that. Like, they will keep their word to everybody else. But
Mm-hmm.
the last commitment they're keeping is the one for themselves. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
appreciate that. Yeah, definitely want to make another point here that is kind of under what Dawn was pointing out, which is thank you for sharing your ADHD diagnosis, like all your diagnoses, like all of them. Because the
Mm-hmm.
point that's there is do not compare yourself and the way you function to the way someone else functions. Because someone like me, Dawn, I would look at you or like a couple of our mutual friends like Jessica Holly and some of our other folks
Yeah.
who have superpowers. Jessica's not officially diagnosed or anything, but she functions similarly to you. Like she can have so many tabs open at once and knock out all of them. Like she's amazing. You are amazing. Like I've seen the stuff that you've been able to produce, and I'm like, how in the world? But this is important, for you watching and listening. Don't compare yourself because the way you function can be very different from the way the person next to you is functioning. And their
Mm-hmm.
level of capacity may be very different from yours. So don't
Mm-hmm.
reduce yourself if your capacity seems to be less than theirs or whatever, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Their brain is wired differently.
Yes.
And that's okay. Like you have to give yourself grace and be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for not only sharing your diagnoses, but also that framework, the map thing. That's great.
Yeah.
Like we can all take that with us. That's great. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Comparison bias is the worst thing you can do to yourself. That comparison bias is the quickest way to get to imposter syndrome and the quickest way to get to a low self esteem. Don't ever do it.
That is for sure. um, so yeah, let's unpack some of those parts of your story. Because first you were in corporate. So
Mm-hmm.
there's one, the transition from corporate to now entrepreneurship post pandemic. You also had technically two transitions because you're twice married, so you dealt with divorce twice, and then the single mom thing, like that's its own transition with its set of responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the single mom thing. Like let's speak to that as someone with ADHD and PTSD and you're juggling the corporate job and and the three kids. So how are you what tools are you using to make sure that you're fulfilling all of your corporate responsibilities as well as your responsibilities as a mom? Talk about that.
Gotcha. So the first thing I will say, bottom line, you have to have a village. And I will tell you, your village may not always be your people, meaning your family that you were born into, those that you share blood with. Your village is what you create and co-create with people who are caring, empathetic, and those who are available. Because again, everyone doesn't have the capacity to deal with us. So what I didn't mention is all of my children are neurodivergent as well. They're all varying levels of X, Y, and Z, but we're all brilliant people. So, like, they specialize in math and sciences and arts. All of us have our versions of it. And in our house, it's normal for us. Other people, not so much. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's too much, too much, too much, too much. It's like, it's just different. And so, part of understanding how to be a responsible, present parent is going to be, I'm going to say it, therapy, 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 therapy helps. And therapy comes in different forms. So find the therapy that works for you. I'm a paraprofessional in what they call rational behavior therapy. So what we do is we deal with behaviors and thoughts. And so our behaviors and thoughts, everything starts in here. And then what happens is it manifests through your actions, your behaviors, your belief system, and the way you conduct yourself. So your A, B's, and C's. And so having an idea of the way that I think consistently, knowing my negotiables and my non-negotiables as a parent is how I navigate life. So like, for instance, I have a daughter. My kids are 8. I'm going to go ahead and give her, she's 19 and a half. And I got another child, 20, about to be 24. Okay. Those are some big gaps. They were 12 and 16 when their brother was born. So I got 2 girls and a boy. All of us are neurodivergent in varying ways. Okay. And so you're also talking about different fathers as well. So now I have to also be a steward of knowing my exes, even beyond our marriage, right? And so part of being a good single parent is keeping the lines of communication open. Whether you were ever married or boo thing, or I hate to say it, some people are side pieces raising children. I'm going to say it. It is what it is. And we see that in Hollywood. We see it in church. It's not atypical. I have to bring it to the forefront. But regardless of where you are and how you got to this point, it's going to be making sure you keep your lines of communication open with everyone, because those people, in essence, can become part of your village. Now, what I will say is temper your voice and choose your words, because everybody can't be a part of your village, because some people, that's where you gotta be a pray for discernment. Okay. You gotta know who is willing to be a part of your life, and don't expose your kids until you know that family you have co-created is really there for them, because the one thing you don't want to do is set them up for disappointment. So I have been able to navigate that through faith and through my relationships. So I currently live in a city where my middle daughter is attending school. She's a sophomore at Miles College in Birmingham. So I decided to move me and my business and my youngest son out here to support her. My oldest daughter is 2 streets over from her grandmother, my mother. So that way they still have villages, but I became the village creator for my middle daughter, who was super introverted, got processing disorders, and really struggled in high school. She is thriving here. She has A's and B's. She hadn't had that since 4th grade. Okay, let me just be honest. And that's because we were real intentional about co-creating a space for her that also included me and her brother, 2 people she knew she had as anchors. And so what I want to say, for those of you who are navigating, you're not alone. For those of you who get frustrated, it is frustrating. But what you have to do is kind of take as much of your emotion away from it to say, okay, who's in this core with me? And I will say, write it down. Like, I had to really lay out the village for me. My village really consists of my mom, my sister, my grandmother with dementia. She's still a good part, but her part is limited now. Okay. My grandmother, and my best friend. Those are the 4 people who are consistently anchors in my business. And my business of children, okay, rearing. That's also a business. I treat it as such. And then the 5th one is my dad. I just added my dad last year because he's remarried, been remarried for 22 years. But now that he's near retirement, he has more time and input into my son. My son's father has decided, this is my ex-husband, he has decided he wants nothing to do with me or my child again. So guess who has become part of my son's village? It's his new wife, her family. So again, it's different, But again, you got to know who is there for you and who is available to deposit into you. Now, as far as my son is concerned, my son needs to see, and I'm going to say it, he needs to see black men, especially in a role that requires power that he has. So he's able to harness it when it's his season. So my dad serves as the familiar, the family anchor for my son. Now that his dad has opted out for whatever reason, he's just mad at me. He's just mad at me. Okay, he's mad that I like his new wife. She's brilliant and she's a beautiful woman. So because we get along, that was a problem for him. So he also has two uncles. That's three men born part of his family that he was born into, even though it's outside of his dad. If I showed you a picture right now beside me, it's a picture of him and his dad. I make sure his dad's face is present. Every day he wakes up and sees him and his dad laying up. Now, does he know what's really going on emotionally with his father and really kind of emotionally with me and his father? No, he doesn't. But what he does know is the village that he has. So I just want to encourage you, even though you're going through things, I'll be real honest about mine. I don't fake it and I don't pull the punches at all. And it's real important for us to understand that sometimes people will opt out of your kids' lives. Let them opt out if they're going to be harmful, period. That's a non negotiable. And go and find someone who is a part of your community that helps them. My son is also involved in sports. He gets access to other people's fathers through the game. Now I'm gonna tell you, I'm there now. Okay, ain't nobody. We're not going to find no stepdaddy. But what we are able to do is him to see me interact with other men who also have young boys, and it has been helpful for him. And he's good at this stage. He's 8. So again, we know it's going to change about 11, 12. So we're going to pray Father come around. But if not, my dad has already said he's willing to step in and do more. So that's how I manage it.
That I appreciate that. There is so much there, and that's a great model for folks to use. I love the loudest point for me was don't be afraid to connect with the other blended members that join your
Mm-hmm.
family. So in your case, with the divorce, like this
Yes.
person has remarried, there's no barrier to meeting the new spouse. Like if you
Right.
bond with the new, why not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
They're
I
taking
love
care of your
that.
kids. Right. They're taking care of your kids. So you
Yeah.
want that. You want that love unless it's harmful. So again, that's the question, Melissa, about the non-negotiables. What you can't do is harm a child. If you do that, all y'all out, right? But being very clear about that has been super helpful. And I have a friend in her. I really do. In her family, her entire family.
I love the point you made about your son seeing you with other men that have sons. Like we
Hmm.
don't hear that in conversation very often. But I love that because it conditions your son to being comfortable with you in the sight of other men. So he
Hmm.
doesn't develop a sort of warped sense of overprotectiveness over
Hmm.
you. You know what I mean? Because sometimes there's that. Like there are times
Yes.
when the single mother relationship with the son can then become warped. If
Yes.
she's only working or if she's not
Hmm.
around other men or anything like that, the son can then grow up to have a sense of overprotectiveness. So I love that the balance is there and that grandpa is now here to fill the void, for the dad. Like you still have a leader to look at. Like
Yep.
this is your possibility model. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing
Yes.
that. That's really good.
Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely. So that was the single mom navigation. So, and you talked to us about the burnout part. That was the transition between corporate and now what you're doing with your
Hmm.
business post pandemic. Talk to me about the moment when you finally decided, you know what? I can't keep doing this. Like post stroke, when you learned the lesson physically, your body was like, I'm done. Okay.
Hmm.
But what was that point where you made the decision to say, you know what? From now on, I will listen to my family or my therapist or, you know what I mean? like
Mm-hmm.
going forward. Talk about that, like when you made that decision, like what inspired that?
Whew, okay, here we go. January 20th, 2023. I returned from my 50th birthday party. I had a friend of mine who flew me out to Vegas, and then he also sent me the following week to Miami with my girlfriend. So I just had these 2 weekends in a row of just celebration of me being 50, right? He and I have been really good friends since I was in graduate school. So we're 25, 27 years in friendship. So I was like, you know what? That's cool. I appreciate you. I had my besties, all that stuff. And that friend also is a person who models behavior with my son, right? So that's good. When I see him, he's good. He's like, hey, what's going on, man? How you doing? Anything. And he was also raised by a single mom, so he gets it. But fast forward, January 20th, 2023, I came back into work. We had a DEI training. So that was when diversity, equity, and inclusion was a part of the thing in the nonprofit where I was a chief impact diversity officer, second in command, just a team of 7 people. So we managed multiple millions for Middle Tennessee. All right, all the nonprofits. We were a membership-based organization. So one of my colleagues decided that in that moment she was going to try your friend, the conflict chick, openly in a verbal battle. And so she got upset with me and she jumped up and down, cursed me out, was ready to attack. Kind of this young lady. And if you're familiar with the bird, was it the bird watching? They call it the bird watching Karen. My apologies for generalizing this, but there was an instance where there was an incident during the pandemic where a young lady was walking her dog, and there was a black educated man who was bird watching, and she thought he was recording her when he was actually recording birds. And the way that she acted was exactly what happened to me in a meeting at like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, I'm confused. I just came off of 2 weekends, been gone for 4 days. This is my first day back in the office. And so her cursing me out multiple times, even in front of a mediator, in front of our entire organization, on camera. And my boss was like, well, I don't know what to make of it. And I had no protection. I'm just get down to brass knuckles. I had no protection. And I said, who's going to protect me? My question was, is she a licensed carrier? Because if you know anything about workplace, and this is what I do in my business, around culture transformation, and especially working with women leaders who are exhausted and burned out, on their way to burnout, it was like, what do we do about this? Why is no one addressing it? And so then I had to go homeless, and I said, what would I tell my children? What would I tell my clients? And it was in that moment, since that employer decided not to protect me as a leader, as a woman, as an executive, and now as a senior, literally, I'm a couple of years away from my well, I got my AARP card, but I'm a couple of years away from all the discounts, right? I said, if they're not willing to protect me, then what? And so that was the day I came in and I said, you know what? I am done here. I'm going to go into my business full time. Um, but I can't risk having another stroke at the hands of yet the employer that initiated this first one anyway. Okay. So that's where a lot of PTSD comes from. I'd had it over the years anyway. And then to have it again, that moment took me back to a relationship that I had, an intimate relationship, when I was at that point and I froze. It's like I was not well. And I kept saying, I am not well. I am not well. And no one heard me. So the best way for people to hear you is to use your feet and your wallet. And that's what I did. Yep.
Yeah, I feel you. Wow.
Yeah.
That's wow. And here's a point I definitely want to highlight here. For those of us that are in a job, I can't say us anymore because I'm no longer in that situation, but in a job
Mm-hmm.
that could be potentially contributing to your trauma. Like,
Mm-hmm.
slow down and make a note of that. Dawn did say, like, the first step is self assessment. If you're in a job that is deleterious to your health, find another one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, even if you have to transition it, like, get one that's like part-time first,
Mm-hmm.
but find a runway to get out of that one,
Mm-hmm.
because I'll share with you my burnout story, Dawn. Folks who've been
Mm-hmm.
rocking with the show, they're already aware of it. But I worked 9 years in the news media industry, and I can tell
Mm-hmm.
you, you've likely seen that the graphic that was going around LinkedIn for a while with the 12 stages of burnout. I went
Mm-hmm.
through all 12 stages in those 9 years. And it wasn't until probably like the last 2 years where I found myself intentionally withdrawing. Like, I was doing the work still, I was still getting what needed to be done, but I was like, I'm just here. Like, I don't, like, there was a point where I stopped caring, which
Mm-hmm.
is very dangerous. Like, if you reach that
Very
point
good.
in the job where you're just there for the paycheck, it's time to go because
Yep.
paychecks are available in other places, and it doesn't, I can say this now on the other side of it, it doesn't make sense to sacrifice your health, your body, your mental health
Mm-mm.
for an employer that doesn't value your existence in that way. You know what I mean? They
Yes.
value your existence in as much as your contribution to the company's function. But if they don't value your well being, and you notice your well being is taking a nosedive, it's
Mm-hmm.
time to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I wanted
They
to
will
highlight
take.
that part.
Yep. That's good because what they do, organizations have a tendency, a high propensity to do the following. They will prioritize your production, your performance, right? And your pay, because sometimes they'll
Mm-hmm.
give you money to stay over your peace. So when you have those three that have a higher priority in their mind's eye over your peace, you're the only one that can reverse that particular equation. So remember that.
Wow. Love
Ugh.
that. Your performance, your productivity,
And your
and
pay.
your pay
Mm-hmm. Cause they'll pay
over
you to
your
stay
peace.
over your peace.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
That the
wild.
Navy tried that with me while I was enlisted. And I was like, I'd already given them 5 years. They were offering me a re-enlistment bonus. I was like, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
5 years is enough. So I
Look, former
left. But
Navy
yeah,
wife, first husband.
see,
You already
so
know.
you already know.
Yeah, that's that's a whole nother.
A whole other conversation.
He
Whole
went
other
from an
conversation.
E1 to '04 Mustang. So you know what I dealt with.
Bro, that's quite, wow. That's quite the transition. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot. So I love that,
Mm-hmm.
like, the importance of making boundaries and enforcing them.
Mm-hmm.
Because just as you pointed that out, that was my issue too. Like, I made some boundaries, I didn't enforce them. That was my
Hey,
issue. So
yep,
at this
same.
point, now that I'm on the other side of it, I now have the language to express what my
Yes.
boundaries are. And I don't have as much fear, like you, struggle with people pleasing, right? We're recovering people pleasers. But now
Yes.
I can clearly express the boundary without the fear of displeasing somebody or whatever.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
very, very important. So talk to me about, at what point did you decide to document this? You're like, I need to make this into a book. Like, what was that transition? What was that decision?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Okay, so here's the funny part. So, I since the pandemic, I've written 4 books. Yes, 4. Since two in 2020, one in 2024, and one in 2025. This one in 2025 by far is the best. It's Unburdened, Breaking the Cycle of Burnout, People Pleasing, and Perfectionism, right? And so the thing that makes these exceptionally special is this one came right on the tail end of the stroke. So when I had that stroke in 2021, I had to have a conversation with God. I'm a faith forward person, and I asked God. I said, please. It was if look, I'll tell you. If you look at Jamie Foxx's Netflix special where he has his conversation with God, a year, I guess it's 2 years before he had his conversation, I had mine. And I literally told God, I am not done yet. Please give me another opportunity. And I literally said on that cold bed, they were like, don't move, because I was getting examined, right, for 45 minutes in a tube. I couldn't move anyway. I couldn't scratch my nose. I couldn't do any of that. I could not. I had to learn how to walk, talk, dress myself, all that stuff again. Okay. So I said, God, if you will do this for me, please do me a solid. Allow me to live. I will never mute my voice again. So this burnout book was baked right there in that tube, as in lights was hitting my face and everything. Because I said, Dawn, you got to do something better. You cannot allow this to happen again. And so from that time, I really started documenting, because what you do is you're like, how did I get to this point? Like when I had the stroke, I was like, how did I get here, God? I mean, like, this is out of the blue. And so as I started keeping the score and counting all the things, finally got my official diagnoses, I was like, oh my goodness, I should have done this at 25. Because I would have known better. I would have prevented some things from happening instead of just running through all the red lights. Right? So that's in essence what happened and what I had to do when the book was created. We'll say August 16th, 2021 at approximately 10:30 in the morning, because I couldn't do nothing else but lay there and think and try to talk and sign with one hand. It was crazy.
I get it. Trust me, I get it. And that, like, I had a health journey as well as a result of all of the stress from the
Mm-hmm.
burnout that I encountered. I will tell you, Dawn, I developed adult onset asthma. I
Mm-hmm.
developed, yeah, like I had always been, and first of all, I didn't even know until the asthma thing that allergies were on a spectrum. Didn't know that. Because I'm somebody that's dealt with allergies my whole life, but it was usually up here. It was usually sinus stuff, sneezing, sniffling, what else, whatever, like the common
Right.
stuff. But developed adult onset asthma, and then my womb got sick, and I developed what I like to call the sick womb triad. I had all
Mm-hmm.
three of them. Okay, so that culminated in a major surgery in 2024, June 20th of
Wow.
2024. So, like, I am childless, but have a C-section cut. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. Like, stress manifests in different ways
Mm-hmm.
in different people's bodies, which is why Dawn and I are stressing the importance of knowing when to leave
Mm-hmm.
and paying attention to what your body's telling you.
Yep.
Because I don't know about you, Dawn, but people outside of me were telling me, like, they were seeing signs like, are
You
you
okay?
okay? Like, what is going on?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like in my case, my mom was the one, because she works with persons with disabilities, and sometimes she'll see some of those behaviors in them, and she started seeing signs of depression in me that I didn't realize I was
Mm-hmm.
expressing.
Mm-hmm.
What I noticed from my vantage point was the numbness. I started feeling myself numb, like I was
Mm-hmm.
less able to feel emotion, which was
Mm-hmm.
weird. I'm somebody that's
Mm-hmm.
normally a very sensitive person. So when I got numb, it was like, what is happening to me? But I
Mm-hmm.
kept going, like it was the
Yeah.
job, like you just keep
Yep.
going. But she was like, you're starting to exhibit signs of depression. Like, what is happening? And
Mm-hmm.
she pointed out, like, your blinds are staying closed. You're not leaving the house anymore. You're not talking to us in the house. And we were at that time a multi generational household. So my
Yeah.
parents, their grandma and grandpa, myself and my
Yes.
brother, and his kids.
Yep.
multi-generational. And as full as the house is, I'm in my room. And when I'm not in my room, I'm gone because I'm working. So my mom was like, we need to, like, what is this? Let's address it.
Yep.
So
That's so true.
that was my journey, which is why, like you, when you came out of your journey and you told God, like, I will never mute my voice again, this, I had the same vow. I gave God the same
Mhm.
vow, especially with the asthma, because that directly controls your ability to speak. If you can't breathe, you
Yes.
can't talk. And
Yep.
that was the same promise I made, which is why I don't have a problem now expressing boundaries
You better.
and that's part of the purpose of this show as well, to speak,
Hmm.
speak life into people and share stories like yours, Dawn. Like, this is possible and you can do this, even
Yep.
if you are extremely busy. You know what I
Correct.
mean? And you were saying Unburdened is your best book, but give us a little bit about the previous books that came before that. Like, what were they about? What was their focus? And then did they kind of build up to Unburdened? Are they connected to
Yeah.
Unburdened? Kind of talk about that.
Did. Absolutely. So my first book was called Positive Pudding, 30 Days to a More Positive You. It
Mm-hmm.
launched May 20 something of 2020. Okay. I also had another book that came out within 6 weeks of that called Seven Paths, One Destination. I co wrote that with six other women. So let's start with the first. First of all, they were all connected because they're all connected to me and they're all like memoirs. The
Okay.
Seven Paths was seven different women. We were all in different ages. We were from 21 to 62 who co-authored the book. We were his two were Hispanic and the other were black women. We were across three generations. And
Wow.
so what we were able to do was to capture our stories or our journeys in this book that was figuratively about us all getting to the top of the mountain different ways. And so I remember my chapter was really about going the non-traditional route, around up the street. Some of the street is windy, some of it is paved, some of it is rocky. Once you get to the mountain, the key is to get up it by any means necessary. So that speaks to the resilience that I had displayed just in life, starting at 18 with the briefcase and a dream, walking into a corporate place where they told me they had socks older than me. I looked like a kid. Couldn't nobody take me seriously. Um, who are you? Who do you think you are? You guys are plotting. It was all the things. I was experiencing that before I was even able to travel and drink. Okay. I had American Express at 20 and I was stopped at the border all the time because they were like, this can't be your card. So we had this whole, I mean, it's just a lot of stuff, right? And that's trauma. So that's me always having to prove myself. So that fed into the people pleasing, Melissa, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's that first book. So that first book really starts with Dawn being 18 to getting to that point. That's that mountain. The second book was the Positive Pudding 30 Days to a More Positive You. That was my coaching book for my team. So that's what I use in my coaching business to coach women. We started in April of 2020. And every woman in the seven of us, all of us had breakthroughs within the first year. We had one get out of a messy relationship, got with her beau. She had been in a messy relationship for 10 years. We did a mini intervention. She stopped talking to us for 6 months, came out of that, is the happiest she's ever been, got a new job, new career, making more money, beautiful family. All right. Another woman she had lost her child to cancer. She's a mom, entrepreneur, had lost her son to cancer. By the time we finished that book, her and her family went to the grave site of that now. That baby was 6 years old laying in that ground, and she couldn't go out there. She mustered up the strength. We had another one that was twice over veteran, military veteran, done died multiple times. We just say just from her cancers and all that. She's cancer free. She now just got some Athena awards and some other things in Nashville. She's now the executive president over a couple of organizations that she's a part of. So, and she just got her honorary doctorate. So you look at things like that. That was three. Then you see where I am. And then another one is the 21-year-old who was our baby, didn't even like writing. She was a student of mine. I'm an adjunct professor. She was the only child in the state of Tennessee. She wanted to be an entrepreneur, a author, and a choreographer and dancer professionally. So she was able to get her six figures. She's still in her healthy, beautiful relationship with her boo and her bae. They've been together what 7 years or 8 years, and she wanted to get be on a national stage dancing. She was successful this past year in being one of Kendrick Lamar's dancers, the only one from the state of Tennessee. And that's my little baby from Austin Peay State University. She has a thriving business and she teaches young girls and kids the value of themselves and their esteem through their movement. And so she's doing all things. And she authored 2 books. She did another one. So for a girl who didn't like writing 2 paragraphs, she now got 2 books and a line, and she's doing so much. So Kirsten's amazing. And then the other one, the last young lady, ended up finding the love of her life. Her and her husband are living their best life, and she's married and happy. And she was able to manage and navigate her relationship with her father, who was a kind of overburdened man, overburdened and overbearing. So he brought his military-ish self into her life, and she's Hispanic and white. And so he was very hard on her and her mother, and she was able to go in and get the strength. So that was 2. Third book was called Women Who Lead. That was with 6 other authors, and we were all, it's a faith-based book talking about our journey. So again, my stroke story was in the form of a monarch butterfly. And so in that book, Dr. Paulette Harper, pulled us all together to talk about our journeys. We had one sister had a traumatic brain injury, and she's now a national speaker. You had me doing the things that I do. We had one mother that was arrested for some things that she did young. She's now a doctor and teaching and training other women who are in need. And it's just those things. So that was number 3. And so number 4 was the Unburdened. That was after the stroke. So that was the one that was birthed in the tube, getting my head and body examined. And I really decided to do it in 2025 because I said it had to be done. So that way, that 5-year journey, if we look back at the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, it was just the perfect time because, we're in need of some things. And if you look at what has happened in 2025 alone, this year with women, over 70%, I was trying to get my actual number because that's how I am, but over 70% of women who are working today have experienced some signs of burnout and exhaustion in the workplace, okay? We are still making 68 to 82 cents to every man's dollar, okay, with those who are minorities making up the lower part of that. And we're still carrying burdens and things that we aren't supposed to carry. So that's where the book came in. It's perfect timing for me, and it is launching an entire movement. So January 1, we're kicking off 100% all high achieving women who need this story. And what was funny as I was writing it, Melissa, every woman that I talked to, when I mentioned what I was thinking about, you would see them go, oh, they had this visceral response. They're like, oh my gosh, it's so important. So that's how I got here. I said, you got to do it, God. And God got me to do it in 45 days.
Listen, 45. Yeah, and this is why I love bringing authors on because they they share their stories of how quickly or how long it takes to get the book done. We'll wrap up here. Like my last question for you is
Uh-huh.
talking about your marketing strategy for this one. Because this one, like you obviously you're saying like January 1st, like you already have a vision for what you want to do with it. So kind of
Mm-hmm.
talk to our audience about what your marketing strategy has been for this one.
All right. So I started talking about the book. It's been in my head since the stroke in 21, but I started talking about it, just kind of putting it out there in 2024. So when I'm just casual conversation, meeting people who didn't know me all around the nation. And so I really started the journey last year. So like this time last year, October, November last year, I was like, it's got to be written in 2025. And I put a date on it. So I said it has to come out on 7/7, which are my numbers, 7/7/2025. And I made the date. Okay. So when I create the journey, I utilize what we call large language model tech to help me, aka artificial intelligence. And so between Claude and Chat GPT, I have a paid version, so that way some of it is protected. But I've now learned about Boodlebox, which helps me even contain it even more, which that's really a good thing. So I'm in that now. But having this intellectual property in my head, I hired a person to help me with my narrative. So I have a coach and a what I call a creative writer. So for me, I'm a very technical person. I'm a teacher by trade, and just the whole people pleasing thing. And I've been in tech for so long, I was very square staunch. So what I did is I had to tell my story to someone else, and that person said, "This is what I heard," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And you know what happened with that, Melissa? The work that you do with encouraging people, it helps them get out of the box. And so I had to get out of the box. So I started recording it. And as I recorded, then I put words around it, put a date on it. And then what I do is I share the journey. What you find out is that regular people want to hear from you. Regular people want to see you, like, and see how my son opened the door with his toy, a locked door with his toy. He came in here and showed me. Don't do it again. Thank you. But those things come out in the book. So they want to see real life in real time. And so I helped AI. AI helped me build out my ramp so that way I would, yes, I would not miss my milestones. Go ask your sister. Go. Don't come in here again. Thank you. Um, and so what I was able to do is to put those gates. So maybe you like, well, so you do that for your audience, and that's helpful. You need a person. You need a coach. And if I would not have had my coach, Dr. Ghazi Muhammad, thank you, out of Atlanta, Georgia, my legacy story would not have made it to print, or it would have took another 20 years, like my first book. My first book took 20 years to write. Positive Pudding took 20 years to write. And one of my co-authors in the seven paths, one destination, Ava made me write it. She said, you got to write that book. I said, I got to do what? I'm writing the book. She said, nope, you got to write yours as well, Dawn. So again, it takes a coach. It takes a champion. You cannot write this thing in a vacuum, because if you do, you know how we are, especially people pleasing, perfectionists, overachieving folks like me will think it's never enough. That part. So that's what
That
I did.
part.
And you just time it and you put it out there. And so here's what I've also learned, Melissa. I want to share this with, even after they get through their book with you, the thing that they have to do is keep talking about it. I have heard and read that the reason why people's books fall off is because they print and they go, whoa, I'm done. Oh, that was good. And they stop talking about it. I talk about my
That
book every week. I created a book club. I did a virtual, what do you call it? A virtual book signing, book party. I did
nice.
that for
Yeah.
30 days. I took a chapter, I did lives, and I read through my books. I created a workbook to go with my book, and it's 70 pages. Now I'm about to monetize that. I'm going to put an ISBN on it, and it's going to go out with the
Yes.
rest of the work. I also package my books with the work that I do. So as a speaker, you got how many people?
Yes.
You got 50. Okay, each leader gets a book. This is your fee. It's already packaged. You can go directly to them. And my book is on display around the world. So I am in 12 places. Even a school
Love it.
picked me up in Europe. So I'm part of a
Love it.
business school curriculum as a book that they're reading.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
I love it. So, lastly, because obviously that was a lot, and I know y'all definitely want to hear that again. Where can people connect with you? Where can they follow you? Ask many questions. Where can they go? And get a copy of the book, of course. Where can they go?
Absolutely. So the book is in all the bookstores. So if you go to Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, Amazon, it is there. It's called Unburdened: Breaking the Cycle of Burnout, People Pleasing, and Perfectionism. Right? Just say Unburdened: Breaking the Cycle of Burnout. Unburdened, Burnout. I come up. Dawn Bellstone Fears. And here's the thing. Bear Fearstone. Jesus. Anywho. Here's the thing. At the Conflict Chick, you can find me everywhere. Because no one wanted that name. I selected that name in 2016 after changing from Conflict and Communication Associates. They were like, what? I changed to the Conflict Chick. So my SEO will pull me up. You can find it. My book is attached to everything. And I'm just grateful for this opportunity to be here with you today. And I thank you and your audience for being here with us too.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. Man, I've learned so much just from this one conversation. I would love to have you back on.
Absolutely. Just let me know. Look, maybe Xavier will be here, maybe he won't. At least he didn't come on camera. Because usually he comes on camera, he will bomb me in a minute. And I will say, Melissa, that's another thing for your leaders and your listeners and your clients. Be human. That's the one thing the AI cannot replace is your humanity.
That absolutely, absolutely. Was that not an incredible conversation? Be sure to follow and support Dawn with what she's doing. You can get a copy of her book. All the links are in the description, so you can find and follow her from there. And of course, be sure to follow me here. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe there at Getting the Win. If you're listening, you know, do the thing. Click the button on Spotify if you're an audiophile, the Getting the Win show over there on Spotify. I am on Instagram, Pinterest, and Threads. You can follow me there at Getting the Win Show. I'm also on TikTok at Melissa T. Writes. That's Melissa with two L's and two S's. And on LinkedIn at Melissa Thomas. Again, two L's and two S's. But in the meantime and between time, I hope you have a great and productive rest of your Wednesday and a great and productive rest of your week. Peace.